What's up? Welcome back to another episode of the hktpodcast. Once again, this podcast is supported by 35bikes.com. 35 Bikes are dedicated to bringing you the best bike components for the best prices. With brake pads starting from just $6.99 and mudguards from $7.99, just head to your local bike shop and be sure to ask for 35 Bikes products. Or hit up 35bikes.com, enter promo code podcast and you'll get 20% off your entire order and also free shipping. Trivia time now. What word starts with S, ends with X, and offers you ungodly amounts of pleasure? Sax, of course. What other word? Sax is the fastest growing underwear brand on planet Earth. Each pair features their patented ballpark pouch, which is a hammock-shaped pouch that keeps your nuts in check and away from sticking to your legs. Just head to saxunderwear.com to view the entire range and be sure to find them in your local bike, running, adventure, anything store. Try a pair on, change your life, tell your friends, change their lives, and be the talk of the town. It's easy as that. All right, let's drop the gate on this podcast, folks.
Hi, I'm Ollie Wilkins, and this is the hktpodcast. Hold tight, freshers. Okay.
What's up? Welcome back, people. Another episode of the Hook It podcast, number 45 today. Kurt Raisy. And what a Kurt Raisy last few weeks. Guys, man, what can I even say? Danny Maxgill episode went down an absolute treat. Believe it or not, it actually hit the global iTunes top 100 for a short period of time, which knocked my socks off. So massive thank you to everyone out there who listened, shared the episode, reached out, left some, iTunes feedback or whatever it is. And no doubt, welcome to a bunch of new listeners too, because it seems like we really peaked over the last sort of week or so. So yeah, massive props, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. The community is growing. It's crazy. I guess in other news, we are now available on Spotify. Another personal goal, and I'm stoked to see the podcast on Spotify. I always wanted to have it on there initially, but it's pretty damn hard. But finally, we got accepted, and the podcast is now available on Spotify. So if you were struggling to listen before, hopefully it's way easier now. So yeah, Spotify, just search the Hook It Podcast and you'll find this thing. And we also set up a Facebook group too, and if you're not in there, you're missing out. It's a closed Facebook group just because Facebook's a nightmare these days for sort of people actually getting to see our posts and what we're saying about things and guest releases and stuff like that. So set up a closed Facebook group. If you're not in it, head over. Obviously just search the Hook It HKT podcast and come in. It's a cool little community building in there, so it's a bit of fun. And I always do guest releases and news in there first. So be sure to come over and get involved. Right, episode 45, Ryan Nyquist. Holy smokes. Another childhood hero of mine, and yeah, I don't know. Let's just get into it. Let's welcome to the show, Mr. Ryan Nyquist. Okay, button pressed. I'm probably going to start calling that the awkward button because it's you chat for a little while and then you have to, rewind and then press a button and say hello again. But anyway, so on today's show we have Ryan Nyquist, which I'll be honest, man, it's still kind of trippy to say that. I mean, starting this podcast has been nuts because I've met and spoke to so many cool people over the last 2 years. Some people which I've looked up to, like yourself, since being a kid. So I'm honoured, and thank you so much for doing this, man. It means a lot.
No worries.
Cool. It sounds as well like you've literally just walked in the house too from being on a trip, so even more.
Yeah, just a few days on the road, and so the light came off. A few days on the road, just got home and just, my nose is just sneezing and I'm coughing, so I'm just like, man, yeah. So, but
Really?
yeah, well, let's I'm down. I'll answer whatever questions you got.
Man, I think everyone in the UK right now has got this bug that's going around and has got sickness and stuff. Like I was just saying, it's freezing cold here right now. Like it's -8 outside, it's snowing, but it's kind of cool just to be sat in here chatting to you, so whatever. Like I said, it's trippy, dude. Like, I remember growing up playing as your character on Dave Mirror 1, which is, like I said, I can't even, I always used to choose your character. I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. It was either you or the Slim Jim guy. So it's crazy. Like, I can't even get over it sometimes. It still keeps blowing me away that I'm, getting people on this thing that I genuinely look up to and that, like, all our listeners are, like, stoked to have on the podcast and stuff. So, yeah. First of all, it's always nice to sort of kick this thing off by kind of, like, figuring out, how did you end up getting into BMX? I know that's a bit of a cliche question, but it's a nice thing just to get some background for people that might not necessarily know. Yeah.
Well, the first bike I had was a BMX bike. And so that's kind of what I always knew was just, BMX style bike and, learned to ride it and liked going fast on it down the sidewalks and, jumping little curb cuts and stuff like that. And I don't know, it just took to me, like I just really enjoyed it. So I just kept on jumping and building little things in the driveway. And, about when I was 11, just found a group of kids at my middle school that had a BMX bike, and they actually waited for me, like outside the bike racks to see whose bike it was. And so, it was kind of odd walking up to that scene and just having all these kind of other kids waiting to see who, was there. And you're like, never really knew kind of, is this going to be a good scenario or a bad scenario? But, they actually were the first ones that introduced me to like legit dirt jumps.
Right.
They took me to a place, Calabasas, which is in San Jose, California. And, it just started from there, like just these crazy jumps. And at the time they seemed so big and, just like huge mountains, and just slowly started, jumping stuff, crashing on things, learning about stuff, meeting new people. And just, I was hooked from that point on.
Right. So that's cool that like, so were you not really from like a cycling background, like your parents or anything like that?
No, outside of they obviously knew how to ride a bike, but it was never like anything more than just motor transportation. So for me, it was, just found this thing I really enjoyed, and it gave me a little bit of freedom too. Like I could just like I said, I love riding fast, but I could get to a friend's house faster. I could, play with friends faster. It was really just a fun thing for me, but I just always loved my bike.
Right. Huh. Crazy. That's cool. That's cool. I mean, hey, it's okay, man. One thing I was thinking about a lot before, like I did obviously a fair bit of research and looking into like the history of your career and stuff. And one thing I want to be pretty keen on is sort of like not doing a disservice to the hardcore BMX guys out there that will probably listen to this. Obviously, we're a mountain bike podcast, but can you tell me a little bit more about like turning pro and kind of like how you excelled from literally getting a bike in sort of like middle school and then getting to like I think it was it 96 or so when you turned pro?
Yeah, 90. Yeah, it's back then. It was a little gray period of how you turn pro or what you did to be pro. So right. I'd say 95, 96, kind of between those 2 years. But my situation was kind of I don't know if it's unique or not, but like I didn't know that BMX was like a sport where there were professionals when I first started. I didn't know that. I didn't know there's magazines. I didn't know that people film themselves and put out videos. But granted, back then it was. You saw a video every, year or so because nobody's putting out, content. There was no internet. And so, we're talking the dark ages kind of, but, So, for me, it was just like, I thought I had just found this thing that, other people were kind of into in this area that I lived. Yeah. So like slowly as I got more and more into it, I found, there's a magazine. Oh my God, there's all these people doing these crazy tricks. Oh, this is crazy. And, and I watched, videos as they came out, and, it was just like kind of surreal. So, me having that kind of influence of like the top pros, like, Dave Mirra, Dennis McCoy, Jay Miron, Matt Hoffman, Joe Rich, Taj, there's a long list of people that I was just like, whoa, these are the guys.
Right.
And I'd be watching videos of them, and I just assumed that these video parts in these videos were how they rode every day. I just thought they went out and they shredded, and that was like, they were just dialed. Like that was a normal thing.
Yeah.
I didn't know like kind of the work that would go into a video part. Like they'd film for like a year or, whatever. So for me, I just felt like if I wanted to be that, which I did, I was going to have to be that dialed. And so I took that upon myself to like, well, landing a trick half the time isn't good enough. I have to be able to pull this every single time I try it. And that's what I kind of aim for. So I went out there with the goal of like being just like these other riders,
Yeah.
Little did I know, they would take, days to film stuff. And it was just one of those things where, I didn't do that, so.
That's super interesting. Like, I guess that's almost like you said, a dark age is a sign of the times, isn't it? Like now you got YouTube, you can see like everything, like practice runs, everything. And then you just got like highlight reel. And you aspired to that. That's crazy. Yeah. I never really thought of that before.
Yeah. I mean, and that was just, like I said, that was kind of like ignorance is bliss kind of thing, I just was like, oh, that's the way it is. I guess that's the way I have to be. And granted, now it's like, I mean, some of the pros are that way. Like they're just, they're dialed. But I think that's kind of granted towards like the whole Instagram age where it's like someone does something new, you see it like that day, if not that hour.
Yeah.
And everybody can just like kind of pick up on what's going on out there, and they can just do the latest and greatest tricks, and they can emulate it. And I mean, that's a great thing, but at the same time, I kind of feel like it's a bad thing because it kind of, I mean, you see a lot of the same stuff out there now. It kind of kills creativity because, people aren't imaginative because they have that outlet to be able to just see all the newest stuff. And it's just like, you have a handful of guys that are really creating like cool, new, original stuff, and everybody else kind of just seems like they're just trying to keep up, So it's kind of, it's awesome in some ways, and in other ways I'm like, man, I kind of wish it was like, there wasn't this instant gratification of clips and tricks and videos and stuff, because when I was a kid, you waited, like you waited for the magazine, you waited for videos forever, and and you had to mail order them and wait by the mail, and hopefully it was coming, and it was just like, it was a different time. And obviously to me, there's a special place in my heart for that time, because the anticipation and stuff was great, but I don't know if a kid ever has that anticipation anymore, except for like if he's at school and can't use his phone and then runs home to use his phone.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that's like the closest thing I could think of. But for me, it was awesome because, you were so excited about, the next thing that would come, which was always like a month or two away.
Right. Yeah, dude, that's so interesting. Like, I've never really thought about it like that. Like my brain's going crazy right now. I remember, you can attest that to sort of something like a best trick comp, like previously where everyone was sort of like waiting in anticipation, like what's this guy got? But like now, I guess you've just seen the run up to it. You've just seen fails. You've just seen like everything. Yeah, it's crazy. And I guess as a contest rider too, it's you could have maybe a trick under your belt for, I don't know, a year, and like no one knows you've even got it.
Well, and it wasn't uncommon for like, I mean, a long time ago, that's what X Games was the time when you like learned something, you unleashed that thing at the X Games. And that was like basically like the time when you saw all these crazy tricks go down, and people would be totally tight-lipped. You might hear little rumblings about like, someone at Woodward pulled something on the resi, and it's like a friend of a friend knew about it and you heard about it, you weren't sure, and that was kind of like how it worked, like you just kind of like, oh, I heard so and so is doing, I mean, back then it was like double tail whips or something, it was like something like, it's nothing crazy now, but that's what it was, is X Games is the way she debuted it, and that's kind of gone away a little bit, because you don't have those surprise moments as much anymore. It's like you kind of have these moments where you're anticipating what you already know is going to happen. So in some ways, like I said, in some ways I really enjoy it because it kind of connects people better. But in some ways I'm like, man, I kind of wish everybody was just doing their own thing, and then everybody get together at events or whatever, or waited like a year and saw what everybody else is doing, because it just makes it that much more like, I don't know, like the anticipation,
Yeah, definitely. Wouldn't it be cool if you could like get all of the, I don't know, X Games guys just to have a social media blackout for a few months before and get people hyped to actually tune in to watch the event again, maybe?
Yeah.
Not that they're not.
I mean, the odd part is you just have to have everybody put their phones down, which is like mission impossible nowadays.
You have to have riders with no hands or something. It probably wouldn't go down so good. But wow, that's super interesting, man. Way to kick this thing off. One of the questions I actually had written down was, in regards to BMX, sort of like how have you seen it change from when you sort of like first turn pro in the first X Games, which was in '97, I think, to now. But I guess you've kind of already just blasted that one out of the park, dude. With that's, I guess, one of the ways you've seen it change, right?
Yeah, I mean, it has, and I mean the events obviously, it's grown, massively, like X Games especially, but like the other events too. It's just like, I mean, we've always had international events, but like just the level of variety and also like just the amount of people internationally, I feel like it's grown. Like you go to an event like Simple Session and you see, so many people from like Eastern Europe come out that you've never heard of or that you might have seen in like a clip on Instagram or something like that. But like, you really get people coming out of the woodwork. And I used to see that when you only went to like the Worlds, and that was kind of like the only time we saw like people from like Finland or, or Sweden or whatever. And it was like, to me, that was a really special time. So, but yeah, events have changed, man. Like it's just, I don't know. It's just crazy when you show up and you see these people you've never heard of. They're just shredding so hard, and it's insane.
Yeah. So what's like your take then on sort of riders who do more social media than they do actual comps and stuff like that?
I mean, there's so many ways to make it in the sport now. It's really insane. You could be, a YouTuber. You could be, just heavy on social media. I mean, you can be doing TV stuff. You can be you can still be a contest guy. You can be a street rider, video part. I mean, like, there's really so many ways to do it, which is great because it's given a lot of people different opportunities to make a living in the sport or to make money or just to be able to do it, professionally. So I think it's really cool. It's just, I don't think there's ever one right way or wrong way to do it. I think right now in BMX, there's a lot of people that are kind of hating on, we call it vlogging, like the video logging where they put out like a video every day. But honestly, man, like that's what kids are consuming is just videos. And as much as I hate it, like I hate having kids in front of a computer instead of outside doing it, like that's where they get their information from. That's where they get it. So I understand it. I've tried like my hand at vlogging, and I mean I tried to have fun with it, but it's for me I'm in a different stage in my life where I can't sit down on a computer for like hours a day editing. Like I just can't do it. I have 3 young boys that kind of need my attention and need me to drive them and pick them up and drop them off places, and so it's I feel like it's definitely like a generation that's coming up. Like that's what they do and that's what they understand and that's where they kind of get their daily dose of BMX or whatever it may be. But yeah, man, it's wild. Like it's really wild, like what technology has done for our sport and pretty much every sport, there's a lot of sports out there that are doing all this stuff, and it's interesting to see, kind of what takes and what doesn't.
Yeah, it's a crazy time. Obviously, we think about it a lot here. I mean, obviously the podcast on the side of a distribution company. We distribute Census, for example, which is one of your sponsors. But we're always thinking about that stuff. Like as a like I say, as a distribution company, like where do you put your money? Do you put it in like edits and social media, or do you put it in print magazine, which is kind of obviously kind of dying in a weird kind of way that it is and it isn't. But some cool things are coming out of that, like annual stuff or whether it's quarterly magazines and stuff. And I think it's just sort of turned the whole industry on its head almost. It's crazy. And it's super hard to know what to do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, you look at magazines and historically their way of quantifying it was how many subscriptions they had sold to the magazine. And now it's like you look at social media, whether it be Instagram or Facebook, and it's quantified by how many likes you have and the engagement you have. And then you look at, YouTube, and that's subscribers, it's basically people that subscribe to your channel and views. But it's like, I kind of feel like it's really hard to like get a solid number on that. For instance, like in BMX, like if let's say you put out a video and you get 1 million views, right, which would be a great video. How many of those people are actually going to go out and buy bikes?
Yeah.
I mean, how can you quantify that? How can you even say that? Like you had 1 million views, but is that like 100,000 of them are kids that ride BMX, or is it like 900,000 of them that just are just random Joes, or might have clicked on it because it was like recommended for you on the side? I mean, it's a really odd time to try to be involved in the sport because it's just like, a lot of people have tried to like invest in like vloggers and YouTubers and, didn't see any kind of return. And some people are just like really into, like the Instagram and doing paid posts and stuff like that. And it's, for me, it's so like almost confusing because I'm like, dude, like I grew up in an era where you go to a contest and if you did well at the contest and the next one, like you had worth, and you were based on results.
Yeah.
And nowadays, it's like, you don't really have to be a contest guy. You can be, a digital media guy, and people find value in that. It's just hard to really kind of, like I said, quantify, all the different media platforms and, like what that all means. And it's just like, it's very like a convoluted space where it's just like, man,
Yeah.
I enjoy doing events. I enjoy competing. I'm kind of doing that and dabbling in social media, but it's just like, holy crap, man. Like, it's like how many days can you kind of consume yourself with?
Yeah, it's something that I think a lot of people now are starting to think about more, is trying to like get away from your phone. I heard a quote ages ago, which was something along the lines of like, people used to use social media to get away from their life, but now they use life to get away from social media. And I think that's super relevant. Like, so many people are so wrapped up in, like you say, like Instagram and all that sort of stuff that it's like you gotta leave it alone sometimes. And it's hard as well. Like, if you run a business and stuff, like, it's so important now. Like, you've literally got to be, I wouldn't say glued to your phone, and not literally, but you have to be putting time into that thing, because it's how people will kind of look at your company a lot of the time. They'll be like, oh, are they any good? Oh, they've got 500 followers.
Yeah.
Not so great, And that's,
I've had like potential sponsors be like, oh, well, who are your sponsors? I'm like, oh, well, I'm red for this and that. I'm like, oh, okay. And then they go back and look and be like, oh, that's good because they have this many. And they're looking to tie into that. And it's like, dude, all right. Like, it's not, like, it's really about who you kind of know or associated with, like it's really, really odd. I get it, but it's just like, man, like, gone are the days of like, so how'd you do the last event? Oh, well, I did this. Oh, wow, that's really good.
I didn't see you posted that.
It's really just like, if you want information, you go through Instagram and you scroll through the feed and you see what they posted. It's like, okay, like if that's it.
Strange times, and it's interesting to see like where it's going to go, because I feel like it's kind of just going to go full circle and people will just hate on it. I kind of hope so anyway, in a way. Like, even me, like now I have like a separate phone for the weekends, which has got no social media, like nothing on it, just to get away. Like, you just need that little bit of a break sometimes, because
I'm looking forward to getting to the getting back to flip phone, and just like just have numbers, and I can T9 text or whatever I need to do. But it's just like,
if you want me, call me. Like, it's that simple.
Yeah. I mean, my dad has one, and I'm just like, it kind of kills me, because I'm like, man, we could be, sending funny things over text and just like, kind of like talking more. And he's just so against it. He's like, I don't want all that crap on my phone. I don't need to deal with that. And I'm like, yeah. In some ways, I totally agree with you, but in other ways, it's like, let's modernize you a little bit. We'll get you an iPhone 4. It's not the newest one, but we'll get you something.
It'll be slow as hell because they'll have slowed it down, but you can have it. Funny. That's you kind of like, I wrote a bunch of stuff down which I wanted to ask you, and you pretty much nailed all those things right away. Like, I think, is it something that you are constantly thinking about still as a professional athlete? Is staying relevant to that whole like demographic of riders, young, old, all that sort of stuff, or are you kind of at a point now where it's just like you said with vlogging, you tried it, it's not for you, doesn't matter, you can kind of leave it alone. People still know Ryan Nyquist. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but it is, and like I do try to stay relevant, obviously, whether it be riding with events and being out there and stuff. Obviously, social media is a big part of it, and a lot of the contracts nowadays require you to do like X amount of posts or film videos for it and stuff. So and that kind of puts you out there as well. It's just, like I said, it's just changed. Like, honestly, back in the day, you didn't have to worry about any of this stuff. Yeah. You really didn't. Like, your job was to go to the event and get good results. Mm-hmm. And then if you did that, you were doing your job. And then slowly, like, crept in the days of, when websites, like, people are probably going to laugh, but it's like, people started getting websites. And you would do, like, updates on the website. You would send in, like, a certain amount of text with some photos you took on your digital camera, and they would post that up, and that's how you got your information about the riders. And social media came along, and you had Facebook pages. So it just really kind of crept into this like kind of animal where it's like, well, in my job, competition is still important, but it's really about kind of giving kids that constant feed of information. It's the whole phrase of and I hate this phrase because I hate it. It's like everything against me, like everything I've learned in BMX, but it's like, it's quantity, not quality. Yeah. And to me, I have the hardest time with that, because like the vlogging, like going out there and going to the skate park and filming, it's really not about what you're doing out there. It's about like posting that content and giving people that something to watch.
Yeah.
And I struggle with that because my whole entire career it's always been quality, not quantity. And
Yeah.
and I struggle with that still to this day. It's like I hate, like when I was vlogging, I'd be editing. I was like, this is literally nothing. There's nothing going on. But then I'd post it and be like, all right, well, I'm just going to try it. And then people would like it and they would enjoy watching it. And I'm like, I don't get this. I don't fully understand this, but this is something that's there's a need for it. There's a want for it. So, so yeah, I mean, the whole relevance thing, it's important. It really is, because you can't just disappear, like when you have sponsors and you have things you're involved with, they want you to be out there. So you do got to kind of get creative. And, for me, social media, I just put my own little twist on it. I put my own, my personality.
Stuff, right?
Yeah, I've been laying off of that a little bit, but yeah, it's just like, I want it to be a reflection of me, So if like, like I posted something, I thought it was just fun and ridiculous. I was like really excited to go ride, and I was driving to the unit to go ride, and I was just like really excited, and I was jazzed up, and I was screaming and yelling and driving fast, and I was just like, oh, that's fun. That's cool. I posted it. It was like, it got way more comments and likes and views than like, me posting about like an actual trick I did. So it's like, well, okay. So in some ways, like the personality aspect really does well, but it's, again, I don't pretend to know. I don't pretend to like have the formula for what works, but I just kind of do me, and hopefully people enjoy that.
Yeah, for sure. I think just quickly, one of those things I've been thinking about a lot is that, like, with the whole vlogging thing, I had a guy on here recently called Scotty Lachlan, and Scotty's a vlogger. That's kind of what he's doing now with mountain biking, and his vlogs are awesome. And he recommended a guy called Jon Olsen. Do you know Jon?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so he was an ex-pro skier, and he makes vlogs pretty much almost every day. And I watched a bunch of them, and at the end of it, I just thought, well, my life is shit, like, compared to this guy. He's just like driving Lambos, living in nice houses, and you just sort of sat there watching it. So I think, although you could look at that as being like motivating, it can also probably give young kids like anxiety, that they're just like, oh, I live in a shitty house with my parents and I got nothing going for me. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, it could. And a lot of people have that, like, I don't even know what you call it, but it's like they have almost like it's like a misrepresentation of like real life. Like, I mean, obviously this guy, that's his thing. He does a podcast or a vlog or whatever. But like, that's what he does. He wants to make it appealing. So people look at this and be like, oh my God, that guy, he does the best thing. And like, I see it all the time, people almost like creating this fake life for themselves on Facebook or Instagram. And it's just like, people take like these posts at face value. It's like you see someone doing something crazy and you just automatically kind of like come up with this idea that they're doing this stuff all the time, and that's their life. They wake up and they jump out of planes, or they wake up and they eat gold-plated flakes for cereal. Like, it's like, it's just like, man, no, like, and that's like, it bums me out because I feel like it also deters so many people from trying. It's just like you see people and it's just like, no, man, like that's not real life. Like, I don't know, like my wife and I always talk, because like, on Facebook you see people that are like, their life looks perfect, and then next thing you know, it's like, oh, they're getting divorced, or like, oh no, this is actually really bad, or like, well, it's just like, man, like, you're leading this almost like fake facade life through Facebook, and that's all that people look at nowadays. It's like they hardly call each other or talk to each other. So I'm a bit old school in my ways, but I just, it's just almost like disappointing, like, seeing that stuff go down, and it's just like, well, like, you can't take everything at face value. You have to like kind of look into it. You have to talk to people, just see what's actually on.
I think as well, that's one of the reasons that podcasts are getting like major, like more popular, is that people sometimes do like to sit and listen to like a long form conversation. And I know, like myself, I prefer like, sitting down like this and chatting to my mates or whoever it is, rather than texting all night, and staring at a screen. It's like, just sit down and just have a chat for a little while. It's kind of nice. And I know for me, like, I barely listen to the radio. I don't really watch TV. I kind of consume a lot of podcast stuff, just because it's kind of cool to learn stuff as well, like, rather than just consume utter garbage into your brain,
I agree.
Out of interest, is this your first podcast you've done?
Maybe. I haven't. If I have, it's. I mean, I can count on one hand how many
Right.
I've done.
Cool.
But nothing else is coming. So yeah, this might be my first one.
Sweet. Podcast virginity right here. Boom.
There you go.
All right. Sticking with like a bit of BMX chat. Olympics. Pretty cool subject, I think. The more like I've looked into this as well over the last day or so, I found it super interesting that obviously freestyle BMX is going to be in the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. I'm kind of interested to know like what your involvement with it is. I've seen a bunch of like your social stuff that you're at UCI HQ or wherever. So can you just tell us a little bit more about what's going on? And
Yeah. So like since the announcement that BMX freestyle was going to be in 2020 Olympics, a lot of people just trying to get organized, and figure out what it is we need to do, how to protect our sport and keep it authentic, and so I wanted to be involved, and I wasn't sure at what level or what role I wanted to be involved in, but I just knew that the passion I have for the sport and the amount of time I've been into it, like, and the knowledge I have about it, I feel like I could help, and so I wanted to. And so, the past, God, it's like probably about a year now or so, like I've been just trying to like talk to people and give my opinion and, have some influence about the way it's done. And honestly, it's been really a positive experience because people like the UCI, they didn't know much about freestyle, and that was a scary thought, but the first thing they said was like, well, we need help. And so for me, it was like, man, well, the fact that you asked for help is awesome. Like,
cool.
Tend to know everything. Yeah. So that was a big myth I was trying to dispel with everybody was, we have this huge conglomerate company coming in. They're going to basically take our sport from us and, do whatever they want. And it has been nothing but the opposite. Like they truly just want this to be like a true representation of freestyle, and that's the way it should be. It's not, we're not going to change anything. It's just like, we're trying to bring it to the masses. And I'm honestly like, it's crazy when you've been around for long enough that you see things come full circle.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is, X Games, when it came on the scene, it was, you heard nothing but, oh my God, sellout. Oh my God, ESPN, what are they doing? Like, they have nothing to do with freestyle. They've never cared about us. And so then, a few years down the line, X Games is pretty cool. A few more years, X Games is like premier event. It's like, and now it's a staple of the sport. So, I kind of am at the same thing where it's like, hey, man, like it's new, it's different. Yeah, these people are never involved, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's really about the people that get involved to help them kind of pave the way. And if it takes off and the Olympics love it and we have a great show, I mean, it could be really huge for our sport, So to me, I just want to make sure that that I can be involved and I can help guide, them and the sport in the right direction. So, so when I take these trips to the UCI, I'm on a couple different committees. I'm the athlete representative for the males. So I go there and basically, kind of relay sentiments, feelings, opinions as far as on the men.
Yep.
And then I'm also on the freestyle commission, which is kind of the people that like call a lot of the shots and make a lot of big decisions. So I'm involved on that level as well. Stateside, I'm involved with USA BMX, and they have an app called UCI BMX Freestyle, and it's kind of a digital app that we've been developing to kind of allow kids that may not have access to funds for travel, or sometimes even like a lot of people don't have events that come near them at all, and so it's kind of an app where they can take it and film themselves at their home turf, whether it be a park or in the street or whatever, and they can enter these digital contests and gain points to basically qualify them into regional events or win prizes or sometimes money, cash prizes. Like we have a whole lot of stuff going on and stuff in the plans.
Wow.
And so it's a really cool concept because to me it's a really powerful tool that we've never really had anything like it in the sport, and being able to reach kids through their cell phones, they're like pretty much a smartphone, which most kids have. And so well, for instance, like we had, this is like early on, but like we were doing some test contests, and there was a kid in Alaska who entered the contest and won. Right. And he won these 2 rails, right? So Alaska is nowhere near the mainland, it's like you're kind of out there. And so for him to be able to upload a clip of him riding and then win. And also, like, not to mention, like, the people that were judging it were like major influencers in the industry. So now not only is he riding and having these winning these Sabrosa rails, but he has these guys that now like are on his radar. And I think that kid actually got hooked up with like Shadow or some maybe Sabrosa, but like it was like this crazy moment where it was like, oh my God, this thing works. You know, like this got eyes on this kid in Alaska that won prizes for riding bikes. So that was a big moment for us. It was like, wow, this is like really gonna, like, this could possibly take off. So so for me, that's really cool, is just giving kids like a clear path to be able to compete, you know. And it's not about traveling or having money for a hotel. It's literally just like get out there and ride and post something and be a part of something. So and then eventually too, like you know, with the UCI back in it, they're sending it out to all the federations. The federations can sign up to basically use it as a tool to hold, you know, like you know, fun contests or like major contests to kind of gain points for their national ranking system to identify riders with. So it's a pretty amazing thing. And also through the tool, and this is the part that I'm really excited about, is like you can send out push notifications. So we can essentially tell people like when there's a contest going on in their area or a jam or whatever, and you can literally send it directly to their phone, which like there's never been anything like that. You know, like we've always had to do like posts on Instagram or, you know, like put an ad in a magazine, you know, something like that, where it's like you just kind of, you're hoping people see it and hoping people show up. And so now that we have this direct plug to like their phone, it's like, man, this is insane, you know. And like, and you know where they're at, you know, like you know what city they live in, so like you can literally type in, and you know, on the back end there's all kinds of stuff that I don't really know how it works, but like you can target people based on their location and tell them what's going on around them. I'm like, holy crap, dude, like this is huge. So I'm really excited about it, but I've been working with them for about a year now just to try to get it off the ground. So that's the UCI BMX Freestyle app.
Which I'll put a link to it in the show notes as well, dude. Like, so if anyone's not seeing it, just hit the link in the show notes and you'll be able to find it right there.
Yeah, and it's available for Apple and Android, so whatever you use, you can get it, and it's free to download. So, but on the still on the state side, there's the federation for us is USA Cycling, and so I've been working with them, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. Like I said early on, I was like, man, like I'm still riding well, I can still compete. I don't know. Like I'm kind of like wondering if I wanted to give it a go or if I should just like kind of take a step back and maybe, you know, look at a coaching role or some kind of administrative role. Okay. And so I kind of made the decision early on that I was going to have a go at the Olympics. I wanted to be at least trying to be an athlete in there. And so on the men's side, I'll be competing, but I've sort of taken on like the role of technical coach for the women. Right. And so so actually this weekend we just did like a camp, and we invited 3 out of the 4 women to go, and basically just I hung out with them and I rode and I was helping them kind of progress. And yeah, man, it's been really cool. Like, and that's something that like is very new to freestyle, but it's such a cool concept because, you know, if I can help them, you know, with competition nerves or help them learn tricks that I've been doing for a while, and I can kind of like guide them through the process, like it's really awesome. And I found like some really great fulfillment in just like helping them at the events, like kind of put together lines and see things that maybe they're not seeing. And so I've, you know, like I've kind of taken on this role of like coach. Cool. You know, it's really, really cool. Like I found like a passion in it that I wasn't sure if I was going to find, but it's like, you know, like I said, it's very fulfilling, like just kind of helping these women like progress, you know, like, cause I feel like in the sport of freestyle, like they have the most room for growth because I mean, they've been kind of shit on for so long, right. You know, it's like, so for me, it's like, I mean, they have, it's like, it sucks, man. Like it really does, because there's so many women out there that are really passionate about the sport. And when you see that passion, I can't help but feel for them. I'm like, man, yeah, I was there. Like I wanted nothing to do or nothing more to do than just compete, you know, and be there. And so many times through the years, they've just been shunned or, you know, kind of not taken seriously. And so now that they have a spot in the Olympics as well. So it's like, you're seeing a lot of federations get behind women. You're seeing a lot of just like, you know, resources being like kind of dedicated towards them. And so it's a really exciting time for them because they're finally getting like their moment to shine. And I'm really happy for them, and I'm happy to be a part of it too, because, I want them to shine. I want the sport to progress and have more like girls on bikes. It's rad because you see it in their eye. Like it's that same emotion, that same feeling that you had when you're starting too. So it's like, it's really cool to see it and really cool to be involved in it.
Yeah, that's all, like, just as well. Just so I'm clear on this. So you are going to try and make the Olympic squad, and how does that work? Because from what I've seen, there's not many riders, right? There's the 9 of each sex in each category. So is it like qualification rounds in each country? Is that how it works?
Well, yeah, we're currently waiting to see how the UCI is going to qualify countries and award spots for countries.
Got you.
And then from that point, it's up to each federation to kind of have a ranking system and a selection process to to have an athlete in there. So like the UCI will basically say these countries have this many spots, right? And then from that point, it's up to the country to decide who they want to go. Their best chance for a medal. So it's kind of a lot of people in the dark, and we're waiting. It should be any day now, actually, because I think we were told end of February will be like all the information will be released. So we're all sort of waiting to hear what the UCI has to say. And then from there, it's like it's go time. So a lot of countries are just, really starting to get organized. Some of them are just kind of waiting to figure out what they're doing based upon what the UCI has to say. So yeah, like for me, I mean, it's just going to take hard work, for me. I got to be on it, because I'll be 39 like next week, I think.
March
which is
6th.
on the upper yeah, there you go. Yeah. So I lose track of the date and time zone.
I got you, bro. I got you.
Thank you. But it's for me, it's, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's a long shot. Like it's going to be really hard because in all, reality, it's like there could be one guy from the U.S. going, which is, that's why we're all kind of waiting, because, a country like the U.S., I mean, they could have legitimately like the top 5 guys, let's say, and realistically, like there might be one guy going from the U.S. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the UCI handles it, because potentially you could have the number 2 or number 3 guy in the world not go to the Olympics. Huh. Yeah. So everybody's waiting. Everybody's kind of anxiously waiting by the computers to see what the email and checking the UCI website. But it's going to be crazy, because it's going to be, I mean, we've had competitions where it's like very intense and, but I think it's going to raise the level of riding because, there's so few spots and everybody wants one.
And I'm glad you've cleared that up too, because I was like looking into it a little bit more and couldn't really find out how it was all going to work. So I just thought I was dumb. I'm like, I just can't find it. So I'm glad you've cleared that up, dude. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Have you experienced much like blowback on the whole Olympics thing? I know like BMX is super sort of, I mean, maybe you don't agree, but for me, BMX is pretty diverse in people's opinions quite often. So has there been, or have you experienced much like blowback from people who don't think it's like true to the sport or something like that?
Well, I mean, I think historically BMX has not been good with change. Yeah. They don't like things to change. They like things the way they are. Progress should be done very slowly. And so, yeah, I mean, you hear little things. You hear people kind of cracking jokes in the Olympics, and I'm in official training for the Olympics. It's just like, and that's just part of the culture. There's a lot of like smack talking and stuff like that. So it's definitely part of it. But at the same time, that's why I want to be involved. I want to make sure it's done correctly and authentically, and keeps it true to the roots of the sport and the way the sport is now. So yeah, I want to be involved to make sure it's done right. And so if it can be translated in a way to work with the Olympics and that big stage and that big show, then that's what I want. I want it to be like just an extension of our sport and growth of the sport. I don't want it to be some crazy thing where we're dancing around and doing something that we're not supposed to be doing. But it's just like, I want it to be, I don't want to sell the soul of BMX just to be on this big stage. So that's kind of my goal. But yeah, I mean, you hear little things, but honestly, it's not going to affect everybody, And my thing is like, it'll affect a handful of people in the sport that are really serious about it, that want to be there, and everybody else, it's not really going to affect you. If it does, it might be in a positive way.
Yeah,
it might be
bigger
something
sponsors
where,
and all that stuff.
Or like maybe a a city that was thinking about doing a skate park or a bike park now sees the Olympic rings and says, well, yeah, let's do it now, you know? And I've heard that before. It's like, you know, when you say it's an Olympic sport, like I have people that are trying to get stuff going and it helps, you know, helps push it along. So, you know, to me, it's like there's a lot of positives, very few negatives that I've seen, and I've thought a lot about it. And like I said, it doesn't affect the guy that wants to go out and ride street. It doesn't affect the guy that wants to go in the woods and dig and hang out with his homies. Like, it doesn't affect you guys. Like, it's something you can watch on TV if you want to tune in.
Yeah.
But realistically, it's like the only people it really affects are the people that want to ride at that level, you know. And then things change, and you have to be ready to adapt to that. But honestly, like it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be really cool. I don't really see many negatives coming from it.
Interesting. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I like your take on it, man. Like I say, the more I've looked into it, the more interesting I've found it, to be honest with you. And I think the fact that, like you said, you know, the fact that they've asked somebody like yourself to come in and sort of keep an eye on things and make sure that, like, the sport's not misrepresented, I think is massive. It can only be a positive.
I'm trying. Yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah, for sure, man. And it won't go unnoticed. That's, you know, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Slightly switching gears here, and we could probably go down a massive rabbit hole, which I don't really want to do, but it wouldn't be a Ryan Nyquist podcast if we didn't talk about sort of like CTE and Dave Mirra. I hope that's okay.
Sure.
It's something that obviously since Dave's passing and like all the developments in American football and etc., you know, it's something that it seems like a lot more athletes have been more cautious of. So from an athlete's point of view, you know, what's been the journey from sort of like Dave's passing to where we're at now with the sport and concussion protocol and all that sort of stuff? Can you tell us a little bit more sort of about that? I'm sorry if I've worded that like terribly.
No. I didn't want to cut in until you're done. I mean, you have seen a lot of people. I mean, it's definitely been talked about. It's been brought up, and the thing I kind of come back to, and Dennis McCoy kind of brought this up, and it makes sense, is like we've always known that hitting your head was bad. Like, that's always a bad thing that you want to try to avoid. You know, helmets have been around for years. That's why you wore them, right? Nobody likes to hit your head. So now we have a name to go along with it, which is CTE. It's a real thing, you know. Like, I mean, it's out there. Yep. The thing that and I haven't done extensive research on it, but you know, it just seems like, you know, it affects certain people in different ways. And to me, there's always been a correlation of the really tragic ones. You know, like with, you know, football players that commit suicide and stuff like that, that there's other problems that are linked with it as well.
Okay.
Whether it be prescription drugs or addiction or, you know, major traumatic brain injuries, you know, that kind of change personalities and stuff like that too. So it's really hard for me to look at CTE as this thing that came about and changed the way that, you know, these professional athletes lived or die. You know, it's a really kind of I don't know. It's an odd thing. So to me, I can't 100% put faith that not faith, but like put I don't even know what the word. Like, I can't believe that CT is a sole cause for you know, suicides and all this stuff, because if hitting your head is causing CTE, then why don't we see every single player from the NFL committing suicide?
Yeah.
You know,
so that's a very fair point. Yeah.
Yeah, and so to me, it's like it's a tough point, and I look at things very logically, and I'm not trying to like dismiss it, because I could have CTE. You know, like, I've hit my head before. It's a very real possibility. I don't feel like I'm in a position that I want to end my life. I feel very happy to be alive, and I love my life, and so it's like, well, yeah. So if I have CTE, like, why don't I feel suicidal? And that's a very naive, very point blank way of saying it. But at the same time, I'm like, you know, maybe there's more to it than just that. You know, maybe there's more to it than just like, you hit your head, you want to die. You know, and you know, like I said, there's more. You know, some people hit their head a lot, some people less. But I know people that have hit their head a lot, and still have it together. They're very sharp. They're very, you know, intuitive. And to me, I'm like, you know, it just doesn't make sense. It's not like 100% like set in stone that this is the way it is. So
Yeah.
I'm not completely sold that it's just CTE. I'm just not. And so to me, like I said, I'm very logic based. I'm very science based. I know it's this thing. I know it's they open up people's brains and they see the scar material, they see all this stuff, and it's like, okay, CT is there, but like what else is causing this? Like what else is happening to make this happen? And honestly, like a big issue in the world today is opiates and painkillers. And a lot of the people that did commit suicide are addicted to that stuff or taking it. So it's just there's so many.
Like a bigger problem than we have probably in Europe and the UK of opiates and people getting addicted to opiates. I think there's a stupid fact, like 1 in 4 people take an opiate medication every day or something.
I mean, it's crazy. It's insane. It really is. And it's like, I mean, heroin, I mean, there's so many meth. I mean, there's a lot of messed up stuff out there, and it's scary to think about, but it's like at the same time, you like, if you're gonna, study it and make these outrageous comments that this is causing, well, you have to look at everything. You have to look at what's out there in society and what these people are doing and what's, like, it's just, to me, I'm not 100% sold. Like I said, I know it's a real thing. I'm not discounting that CT isn't a real thing. It probably adds to it, but what else is making it happen? So, it's just tough. And I'm hoping that, someone just sent me a link that said, that now, like, there's a blood test that you can, like, confirm if CT is there. And that's great because it doesn't take someone dying to know what it is. And so hopefully this opens people's eyes that, like, well, CTE doesn't automatically mean a death wish, So, and I'm hoping that's what it means, But again, like, I don't know. I'm not in 100% in the know.
I think sometimes you're better off like not knowing too. I think if something like that's put into your head, oh, you've got CTE, you're probably thinking all the time like, oh my God, when's a really negative thought going to happen? Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and it's like, I think my wife is obviously really concerned about it because I ride bikes and I crash, and so I'm like, well, I haven't taken that many head hits. And she's like, oh, it's not the big ones, it's a lot of the just constant small ones. And I was like, well, shit, I mean, like, that's anybody and everybody, like, I mean, people that went to heavy metal concerts and headbanging, like,
for sure,
that could cause.
They say jet skiing too is like the worst. The worst sport is like jet skiing because your head's always moving.
Yeah, there's probably a ton of them. So it's and the other thing too, and this is kind of on subject, off subject, but like it's just fear mongering too. It's just like, I hate that. It's just, I feel like so many people are scared of so many things, and it kills me because it just keeps you from living life. And I'm not saying go out there and do things that like hit your head and stuff, like, but like I said before, we've always known it was a bad thing to hit your head. It's never been a good thing to hit your head. So it's like, well, what does it really change? Like, it's just, if anything, it brings awareness to be safer and to wear certified helmets and always wear your helmet. Like, that's great. I love that part of it. But like to like, like I said, label CTE as a death wish, I don't believe that's the case, So and like I said, I don't have all the answers, but to me, that's my take on it, is like, I'm not convinced that's it, And like I said, I could very well be a guy with CTE walking around right now, but I'm not convinced that that's all it is, because I'm here still, and I'm happy, and I love my life. So,
has there been a change in events then? Is there any sort of like, concussion protocol or anything like that? I know going back, I mean, it was almost, for me especially, a bit of a badge of honor. It's like, oh, I knocked myself out, and then I jumped, X jump 5 minutes later, and people used to tune into action sports, X Games and stuff, and watch people crash, and just, it's like, oh, excited for him to do the next run. Do you know? Like, but I think that's going to change. Like, people will be stepping in now and be like, no, you're done.
Well, and it does. And it's definitely like a lot of events have protocols like for concussions now, where it's like, like Crankworks, the mountain bike event, like they have concussion protocol. Or if you crash and hit your head, they want you to go and they want you to answer questions. And they want you to do this stuff, and they have a test you take, and then they judge if you're okay to ride or not. And then I think it's like you have to take a day or two off, and then take the test again, and they test you. So, people are pretty savvy to it, which is good. They're being cautious. Nobody wants anybody to die or get hurt really bad out there. So events are changing, and in the light of all that stuff, and there are protocols coming up and stuff. So it's something that's definitely being paid attention to.
Yeah, awesome, dude. Great perspective on it though. Really cool. Like, yeah, I mean, amazing to hear it from the horse's mouth almost. Someone who's really heavily involved in that stuff.
Yeah.
So let's move on to onto your newest love in your life, mountain biking. I mean, for me, the biggest question is like, what kind of made you pick up a mountain bike and start riding a mountain bike?
Honestly, like when I lived in California, I would ride primarily with mountain bikers. There was a huge contingent of professionals out there that, you know, kind of lived the same lifestyle as me, where, you know, they didn't have to go to a regular 9-to-5 job, so they were riding at odd hours and doing stuff. And so, like, I just was like, man, these guys are shredding. They love to do what I'd love to do. It's a different bike, but, like, honestly, the tricks are the same. So I was like, let's do it. So I ended up riding with a lot of these guys, and one day I just hopped on a bike and was like, okay, let me check it out. And, like, it was odd, but, like, I was trying to 360 a dirt jump, and it wasn't a big one or anything crazy, but I couldn't do it. Like, I just couldn't. It was, for some reason, I just couldn't wrap my head around it. So I took that as a challenge, and I was like instantly drawn to it. And I called up Haro and was like, hey, do you mind if I, kind of get a hardtail and check this thing out? And they sent one out, and I just, like, I don't know, I just fell in love with it. It was really, really fun. It was like kind of like a breath of fresh air, hopping on a different vehicle basically, but having the same skills, but getting excited about something as simple as a bar spin, something as simple as a 360, like something that I do every day on a BMX bike and don't think twice about it. But on a mountain bike, it was like, whoa, like, I don't know,
Right.
So it kind of, it was like a refreshing thing. And I just thought it was gonna be like something where if I felt like I was burnt out, I would just hop on a hardtail and kind of just spend the day doing that and kind of refresh and go back to BMX. And then the more I rode it, the more I was like, man, I wonder if I could actually do it. And then, all the other guys being like, you should try it, like there's this event coming up, you should go there. And and so the gears just started turning. I was like, God, I wonder if I could, and so I call Haro and I ask them, and they're game. So they're like, yeah, we'll send you to a couple events and we'll see how it goes. And
Right.
and
were you nervous of that though,
round,
like of asking sponsors if they were cool for you to do that?
At first I wasn't nervous. I was just more like, I didn't know if they would want to, and so I was like, well, it really came down to like travel budgets and stuff. I was like, well, okay, like if this is something I really want to do, maybe I'll have to pay out of pocket or whatever. But, they sent me the bike, so obviously they were okay with me riding it. So it didn't seem like a big deal for that at that time.
Yeah.
But I basically got into two events. One was like a gold level event on the F&B tour. And the other one, I got a special invite to ride a diamond event called Prime Line in Germany.
Okay.
And so I went to the first one, which was 2.6 tricks in Austria.
Wow.
And
big stage straight up.
Yeah, I mean, like it was kind of like one of those things where I was like, well, I want to do it, and people recommended that as a good first one because it wasn't a crazy course. It was mainly just dirt jumps, and so I was like, oh, okay, it's not a huge departure because some of the events have like these massive whale tails and boner logs and all this stuff and drops, and I was not ready for that yet. So they're like, oh, that'd be a good one. Okay. So I was kind of like taking a lot of advice from people, just like blindly going where they told me to go, and so I got to that first one, and I did well, and like. I think I qualified first of the open qualifier and then got into the qualifying and was like riding okay, but like I just, instantly got to the point where I was like, man, like in order to compete, I have to do these tricks that I haven't done on this. I'm completely unprepared. Ended up crashing. I might have done it right if I hadn't crashed, but like I got like 26th. So I was like, man, okay, well that didn't work out like I hoped it would. So then I went to Prime Line, and I'm not even joking. Like that course was so big that literally there was three things on the course that were the biggest things I'd ever done on two wheels.
Really? Wow.
And I was like, oh, dude, it was like the first drop was huge, and I was terrified. I didn't trust the bike. I didn't know if the forks were just going to shear off on me. I didn't know how anything was going to hold up. And I was literally just holding on, trying to make it through and not embarrass myself. So
wow.
After those two events, I came home, and I kind of had to assess. I was like, do I really want to do this? Like, I think it was like 36 at the time, maybe, or 35. I don't know.
Yeah.
Upper 30s. And I was like, this is the opposite of what most people do, when they're kind of getting towards like the twilight years. They're usually generally trying to find something that's a little bit easier,
Yeah.
And so I kind of had to figure out if it was like, am I passionate enough about this? Is this something I really want to do? And the answer was yes. I was really wanted to see if I could make it work. So I went home and then spent the whole winter just basically riding that bike and just learning and getting used to it and meeting people and just discovering how awesome that culture was. And so then the next year I went back and I charged it really hard, and I was doing well. And my goal was to make it a joyride, and I ended up making it a joyride. And I was like, I can't believe this. Like it's nuts, but like it's working. And so then I ended up getting ninth. And so I'm kind of fast forwarding the whole thing. I might be taking some of your questions, but yeah, and then got ninth, and then that qualified me in for like the first diamond event, which was Rotorua last year. And then I ended up getting fourth there. And then, just like, it was a snowball effect. It was just like, wow, like this is happening so fast, but it's really fun. Like I'm scaring myself, but I like that feeling of being scared. I like feeling like I'm progressing myself, and it was just awesome. And so then, you fast forward to the end of the year, joyride, and I'm there again, and end up having a really good run and getting third place on the podium of this huge event that I never was sure if I was going to make it into, let alone be able to ride well enough to make a podium. And it's surreal. So yeah, like it was definitely something that I wanted to see if I could make happen. And I worked my ass off to make it happen. Yeah. And I couldn't be more happy because I've met so many new people, so many friends, and just got introduced to this culture that I wish I had kind of started years ago, because it's really, really awesome, man. Like, and it's funny now because you see a lot of BMX guys posting on Instagram and stuff like that. They're riding mountain bikes and trying this stuff. And I'm like, I told you guys, like, cause like people were kind of like, what are you doing? Are you switching? Are you giving up BMX? And I was like, no, man, I'm looking to have fun. I'm following the passion. I'm following where my heart is telling me to go, and it's really cool to see other people get on those bikes and just have a big smile on their face, because they're super fun, man. Like whether it's 26 or 29, it's really it's just fun. It's just something different, and that's what I kind of found in it as well. Is just like it's just different. It just breaks it up. So yeah, long answer to a short question. Sorry.
No, not at all. I watched an interview earlier. Actually, there was one event, you have to remember which one it was, where you rode there 10 years before, and then you rode a mountain bike event.
Yeah, that was Whistler. That was Whistler. There was
Crankworks.
Yeah, we had Elevation, which is like a big Red Bull event, and still to this day, I think like one of the best events we've ever had in BMX for dirt jumping. Mm-hmm. But it was like at that same hill in Whistler, and I remember it was a year I finally made it in there, and I was kind of having this like not emotional moment, but I was just like kind of sat back, and it was like sun was going down, and I was literally just sitting up there by myself on the first drop of the joyride course. Yeah. And I was just like kind of reflecting. I was like, man, like this is so crazy. And it was almost 10 years, like exactly. And I was just like, this is nuts, man. Because the joyride event was going on right around the same time as Elevation. So that's why I was just like, and I started doing math, and I was like, dude, that was like '07, and that's anyways. I was just doing math, and I was like, this is 10 years ago. Yeah. 10 years ago, I was here riding BMX at like the highest level event we've ever had in dirt jumping, and now I'm here on the highest level event for slopestyle in the same city, but just on a different bike. And it was just like this really crazy moment of just like, man, like this is rad, like, and not to get like motivational or whatever, but just like, each one of those events took so much work to get to, and it's just. And so it just was, to me, this moment of like, man, like just hard work, man. It pays off if you just stay committed, And so to me, it was just like this really cool moment where I just had like the course to myself, and, I was just sitting there just kind of reflecting on, kind of where I'd been and what I'd done. And I was just like, this is really awesome, Yeah.
That's cool though. Sometimes you got to take that step back, and just think about it a little bit.
Perspective is everything.
Yeah, for sure. Has the slopestyle mountain bike community been pretty welcoming then? Everyone's been pretty cool, because I'm guessing most of those guys that you're riding against, obviously a lot of them are going to be younger than you, but you'll have inspired those guys like no end. Like, do you know what I mean? A lot of those guys will have got into riding because of you. That must be a bit of a trip as well.
No, it is, and it's awesome because that was a big concern of mine too. Is like, how are they going to see me? How are they going to perceive me as this guy that obviously had a decent career in BMX? And now he's coming over here. Does he think he's just going to take it over or win? I didn't know. It's like I didn't know these guys, so it's hard to really say. But I just went in there with an open mind and kind of an open heart, and just basically, meeting people and letting them get to know me too. And that was huge, because I felt like once they kind of chatted with me and got through the kind of scary moment of talking to Ryan Nyquist, it was like they found that I was genuinely just like excited to be there and excited to like kind of progress myself as like just a bike rider in general. And I was surprised because I was really well received, and like I said, I didn't know how it was going to be seen, but it's been really cool. It still is really cool, and like I can genuinely say, like, I love the dudes on the tour, man. Like, they're awesome. I was looking because we have Rotorua coming up, and I haven't seen those guys since like September,
right?
And it's like I'm excited just to kind of see everybody hang out, and it's awesome because it's like it's a whole different crew than BMX, completely different crew. But it's so similar in so many ways. It's just like you have guys you love to hang out with, and when you're on the hill and you're talking shit and you're just joking around, it's like it's really, really fun, And so I miss that because it's been so many months since I've been on that tour, and I've been really focused on the BMX stuff that I'm really excited to kind of get back there and catch up with everybody and hang out and have a good time. So, but yeah, it was, like I said, it was scary at first, not knowing how people were going to look at me, but it didn't take too long for me to feel like I was welcomed, and that was really kind of a breath of fresh air because I just was like, oh man, like, am I going to be hated on? Am I going to have to deal with this? Like, kind of the same way I had to deal with hate in BMX, like early on in the early years of, this guy is doing this or whatever. And I was like, all right, I mean, I was ready for it, but it was, nothing but, really nice people.
Awesome. Is there, like, what's the biggest, like, difference you found between mountain bike and BMX? Or is there anything which major, like, sticks out?
I mean, as far as the culture is different. It's a very cool, laid back culture. Like, people, and it's a different demographic for sure. Mountain bike, that whole scene is, it spreads from like 8 years old to like 80 years old. Whereas BMX is so very kind of youth oriented. It's like the demographics, like 4 years old to 18. It's like it's very different demographics. So you kind of get different stuff too. Like in the mountain bike world, it's like, they ride the hill and then they go down and have a beer, In BMX, it's like, you don't really talk about, drinking beers, or I don't anyways, because it's such a youth that are looking at it. So, young people, and I don't really want to portray that image, but it's just, there are so many differences. And then if you talk about the bike, I mean, it's huge differences. The wheel size, the forces, the amount of energy it takes to do the same trick on a BMX bike or that you do on a mountain bike. It's just, there's a lot of difference there. And so, yeah, it's been, like I said, a big learning curve, big adjustments, but at the same time, it's been really fun. Like, I don't know, I just get a kick out of progressing myself and seeing where I can take things.
Right. Yeah. Like, you can tell that as well, though, dude. Like, from everything you've said, it's pretty obvious. And it seems like it's going great. It's been cool. Like, I think one of the things which is hard to sort of conceptualize sometimes is there's so much information out there that I remember seeing you riding like Rotorua. I think was it last year, and it like took me by surprise. I was like, what? Like, trying to figure out, like, what? And again, that's, down to social media as well. There's just so much stuff. Like, trying to keep up with it's pretty damn hard.
Yeah, and I had to deal with a lot of, like, people that thought I was just leaving BMX too, because I think it's one of those things where not a lot of people cross over, we've obviously had in the past, like, Bear Claw and...
Regatkin.
Regatkin, Josh Holt. Like, I mean, a lot of guys, in that whole world started riding BMX and then eventually went over. So, but I think a lot of people just saw it as, oh, he's leaving BMX. Like, is he done with BMX? Is he retired? And like, I never put anything out there, but I kind of had to like dispel that rumor a lot of times. Like, no, I still ride. Like, people still ask me, I was like, are you doing mountain bike stuff now? Like, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing that and BMX. Like, I checked the rule book and it's totally legal for me to do more than one sport.
Funny. So how do you weigh up what you're going to ride? Like, is it just what contests are coming up next, obviously, or basically. Is there a preference?
I mean, no, I kind of have to like be a little bit methodical about what bike I spend time on, and so this year I spent a lot of time on BMX just because of the Olympic stuff and everything leading up to that, and so. I haven't spent a lot of time on the mountain bike, but I'm about to get on that and start riding that thing because I need to get ready for Rotorua. But I basically just kind of have to plan accordingly. Look at the schedule and see what's coming up and give myself enough time to get adjusted to every single kind of bike. So, so like I said, Rotorua is coming up in like about a month, so I gotta start like getting back on the mountain bike and get familiar with that thing again and just switch back and forth. And that's one of the biggest challenges is just getting used to, well, especially going from mountain bike to BMX.
Is that the hardest way around? Is it like?
Oh my god, it's so hard. It feels like you're just hopping on like a 16-inch bike, like a little kid's bike. It's just it's so nuts because the mountain bike has suspension and bigger wheels, and it's solid, and like it's stable in the air, and and that's also a lot more effort to like spin around and flip and bar spins. Like everything's just like a little bit harder.
Right.
And then you go to a BMX bike and it's just so compact, and a steeper head tube, so your steering is really twitchy, and like the first few like days after riding like mountain bikes for a long time, it's like I'm scared to like do stuff like 360 or 720 because it's just you don't really know how hard you need to pull after being used to riding the mountain bike. So you kind of have to get that one out of the way before you do it again. And so it's a challenge, and that's probably the biggest challenge is going from mountain bike to BMX because it's just so different.
Yeah. Super interesting, man. So I don't want to keep you much longer. I know I'm pretty cautious of your time and stuff today. As you're getting a little bit older, it's no secret, mother time is a motherfucker sometimes. Do you invest more time into like your body and training and stuff these days? Is that something which has become a bit more like,
Yeah, well, actually, it's funny. I'll turn you around so you can see. I'm trying not to mess this up. Hold on one second. But I'm sitting in this area in the garage. That is I've set it up. Oh shoot! It's my weight area. I'm sitting on that bench talking to you guys.
Oh really?
But yeah, that's where I'm at. So yeah, with especially with this Olympic stuff going on. Oops, sorry. I'm definitely taking things a little more serious than I have in the past, and just trying to like keep strong. Gain strength. I've recently like kind of switched to like pretty much a vegetarian diet. Wow. And and just really finding the benefits of that have been really great. So I'm definitely kind of looking at things like a lot more serious and trying to make sure that I give myself the best opportunity to hopefully be in the Olympics.
Yeah, and what's moving to a vegetarian diet then? Like personally, I pretty much follow a paleo diet all the time, and that had such a huge benefit. Even I'm not a professional athlete or anything, but just in like your life in general, brain becomes a bit more clearer. You lose that bit of fog every now and again, and just the whole thing. It's amazing how much better you can feel from that. Have you had like the same experience then with moving to more of a vegetarian diet? Yeah, I have. It's really odd. I was just talking to somebody about this. And in addition to the vegetarian diet, sorry, I forgot to add this, but I pretty much cut out like majority of like kind of sugars, like, and not like, I mean, obviously I do natural sugars like fruit and stuff, but like the added sugars, candy, sweets, like I cut that out completely because I've always known it wasn't good, and I know I have. I mean, it's borderline addiction, like a sweet tooth. It's really bad. And so like, I kind of had to like really be disciplined on that one. But, that one I've noticed a huge benefit from. And honestly, it's really odd, and it's so hard to really pinpoint what does it. But like my, aches and pains, like, I was just telling my wife earlier, like I've had for years, like a problem with like my hips and lower back. And it just gets really tight and sore. And the past week or so, it's been feeling good. Really?
And I can honestly say I haven't been doing too much of anything to make it, like to really like, work with it or like work on it to make it feel better. And so I'm like, well, like, I know a lot of like meats and, sweets and stuff like are inflammatory in like nature.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. So I'm like, oh, well, maybe that's something that's, a benefit of this. So I'm learning as I go, and I'm trying to do it the correct way and not just like kind of cut out everything and, kind of hurt myself along the way. But I have found some pretty awesome benefits from it. So, and I don't know, it's just nice. I think it also just kind of gives you a confidence knowing that you're eating a little bit cleaner too, which is nice.
And it's nice just to like, I enjoy kind of just thinking about it more. I like that feeling of like, right, this is what I'm eating and there's a reason for it. I'm just like it's fuel, not just, just to feel full. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I said this to somebody else the other day, is like, I kind of had to have this mental shift of like eating food for enjoyment versus eating food for energy, for life.
It's just mouth pleasure, dude. It's only mouth pleasure.
Yeah,
you don't need it.
Well, and I try to have moderation, like if the missus and I are going on a date, like I'm not going to shy away from a dessert or whatever like that. I've learned my lesson in the past that if I go too far to the extreme, that I eventually get burnt out and it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to have moderation. but it's just, it's just making wise choices, like reading labels and stuff. And I've been trying to spread the word about this to my friends that I think could benefit from it. But it's just one of those things that I feel like I've found something that works for me, and I think could work for a lot of people. So I'm not trying to be preachy or anything like that, but it's just I'd like to see America as a whole get healthier. We're not really the healthiest country, so.
I listen to a lot of stuff, obviously American-based podcasts and whatnot, and it seems like over there it is switching a little bit more. Like people are, switching to like a paleo, vegetarian diet. People are. I mean, you guys have way more of a sugar issue than we do over here. I think there's sugar in fucking everything, by the sounds of it over there. But slowly but surely, people are learning that it's not breads and pasta isn't a healthy diet. Really, it's about eating clean food and getting rid of sugars and stuff like that. But interesting though that you're doing that, man. And I think it'll benefit if it's anything like what I've seen and people that I know have seen. I think it's gonna be massive. I mean, to me, it's just like I got like when it comes to the Olympics, like this is a huge goal of mine. So I'm like, well, I need to give myself the best chance possible. Yeah. So if that means changing some stuff up and getting more serious, then let's do it. Because I feel like I'd be doing nothing but like hurting myself by not at least looking into stuff or trying it, and just like that, giving me every possible advantage to try to beat these kids that are like half my age. Cool. I think. Do you want to do some listener questions?
Sure.
Yeah, let's fire these out, and then we'll let you carry on with your day, man. All right. Okay. So, listener questions. First one, at Waller BMX, who is actually my stepbrother, believe it or not. Oh. All right. It's not just my friends who listen, though, dude, I promise. All right, Waller BMX, 2 questions. How do you feel about modern park riding and the new wave of riders coming through?
It's exciting. I generally like tuning into like the next generation of riders and see what they're coming up with. And like I said earlier, like, a lot of the riding is the same, but you still see some creativity leak into it. And every once in a while you just get this like, there was this Russian rider, and I hate it because I can't remember his name, but like it showed him riding a resi, and he did like a decade to 3-whip, and I was like, what? Like that one to me, it's crazy what they're coming up with. So it's really exciting. Again, I wish like the originality was there more, but it's really cool to watch. It's exciting to see like what people do, especially like the tech stuff too. Like the tech stuff is so out of hand. One of my favorite tech riders right now is Kostya Andreev, and he's a Russian rider, and he just is destroying the tech game. I think he did like 3 double whip to foot jam, tail whip in. Right. I mean, it's a mouthful to say.
Video game stuff, right?
Oh, it's nuts. So yeah, like it's really cool seeing it, and parks have been one of my favorite styles of riding for so long that it's just, I don't know, like I just really enjoy seeing what people come up with. And like I said, the next generation they're charging it hard, man. There's a lot of real crazy wild stuff happening, so It is really exciting. But it's, my style has always been different too, so I'm trying to continue the path I'm going while all this is going on as well. So that's kind of what freestyle is. It's just, you can do whatever you want with it.
For sure. I understand, obviously, some of these we might have covered, but I'll just fire them out anyway, if that's okay. Question number 2 from Jack, Waller BMX. Has the way BMX changed over the years pushed you towards MTB, or are there other reasons for this new motivation?
Yeah, no, I don't know if BMX has pushed me in that direction, or if it was just a victim of circumstance, if you will. But I felt like I found something that I generally my heart loved, and that's all I can really say is like I kind of fell in love with it, and so I just followed it. And it wasn't like BMX was boring me or I was burnt out or anything like that. It was just like I started riding with this crew of guys that was their passion, and so I found their passion and I tried their passion and it became my passion. So that's kind of how it just worked, and it was a very like organic, natural way. I never really looked at it as like, well, hey man, I could make a ton of money doing this. This would be awesome if I could just make it work. It was really just like, why can't I 360 this bike? I don't know why I can't 360 this bike. Like, this is really weird, and I'm scared to bar spin this thing. This is really odd. I like doing bar spins. Why am I scared? So it was just fresh. I accumulated to like, I don't know if I said this before, but like I kind of like related to like, at this stage of my life, it'd be like going back to high school, knowing what I know now.
Right.
You know,
That's cool. That's
and like how sick would that be? You know, you go back and just like almost rule the world, like just knowing that all the drama and all the BS of that, you know, grade school and high school, it didn't matter. You know, you could go in and be like whatever. So, but for me, it was just like, you know, going into mountain bike with the tricks and the knowledge of competing and doing that on the new bike. And it was just a really exciting time because there was just so much progression for me, and it was just like easy stuff like truck drivers and bar spins and stuff like that, but it was just like exciting again. So
yeah, awesome, dude. Cool answer. Next one came in from @StarskyLoveHutch on Instagram. How did it feel to get a podium in Crankworx compared to an X Games podium?
Oh man, you know, that's a tough one. Okay. I feel like the Joyride one was really exciting. Just because I honestly, I can be honest, I never thought that was going to happen. I never went in there thinking I was going to podium. I was just trying to beat my 9th place from last year. That was my goal, was just to beat 9th place, because that's what I did last year. So for me, my goal is always to try to better myself. So I was more of like in disbelief and kind of surprised. And then, but like X Games, you know, if I go back to like one of the first medals I got there, that's a tough one, man, because. Right. It might be similar. It might be similar feeling, honestly, because it was just like, wow, like that's crazy. I think that like the fact that like I never expected it to happen in mountain bike made it really special. But the BMX one was really cool too, because it's just like, you know, like I don't know. It's just like it's hard to describe, you know, like the BMX one happened in '97. I got 3rd place in dirt, which is just really odd because I got 3rd place in Joyride too. So it's a really good comparison.
Yeah.
But you know, I think BMX, I was working so hard, and at the time I was young, so that's all I was thinking about. You know, I was just thinking about riding and riding and riding and riding. So like, not that I expected to get 3rd place or podium, but it was just like I wanted it. And I think BMX too, like that X Games medal. That first X Games medal, I qualified first going into it. So like it was like one of those things where I was like, wow, this is now a possibility. So then to go back to 3rd, there's probably like a little bit of disappointment in there, okay, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But like I'm excited. But like once you get that taste for like 1st place, you're like, oh my God, I want it, you know? So I think the BMX one probably drove me even harder to like want to get 1st place, you know? Whereas at this point in my life, you know, with my family and travel schedules being tough, to be on the road with them at home, and you know, it's like you have so much else in your mind. Not that I wouldn't love to be on a higher spot on the podium at Joyride, don't get me wrong, that would be amazing, but I just know where I'm at in my life, that I can only dedicate so much time to the sport, you know? So I like to progress when I can, but really for me at this point, it's all about maintaining and being relevant and staying out there. And so it's just 2 different times. So, you know, like I said, it's hard. They were both special moments, like incredibly special moments in my life. But it's hard to say if one had more value than the other.
That's cool that @StarskyLoveHutch made you think about it, right? It's good to reflect sometimes, man.
Yeah, it is.
Next one, at the Asylum Skate Park, which is actually a relatively local park to us. A friend of mine, Jack, runs that, so shout out to those guys. Cool park, man. If you're ever in the UK, check it out. What's kept you motivated for all these years? From everyone at Asylum and the BMX community, we salute you. That's nice of him.
Cheers. You know, I actually just got asked that question, kind of a different form, like, but you know, like, how do you stay motivated, or like motivated 24/7? And my answer was like, I'm not motivated 24/7. Very much, I can be very lazy, and I need the downtime too. So I think what it comes down to is, you know, I stay motivated when it's important. You know, like when I know that I have, you know, 2 hours to go ride, I get excited about it, you know, and I think that excitement comes from, you know, getting that feeling of flying through the air and having fun and riding with friends, man. Like that's a huge one. It's just getting together with the people that I enjoy being around, and that's our connection. That's BMX or mountain bike, and that part of it is something I truly cherish. It's just the relationships and being together with people that enjoy doing it. And you know, I've talked about this a lot, like Mike Laird, who still lives in Greenville. and he's not super competitive, but he loves the aspect of just sitting on the deck and just bullshitting with people, you know,
Right,
and like,
yeah.
and I was and that's always, yeah, like, I mean, some of the best sessions are the ones where you're just having good conversations and laughing, you know, and that's you leave there going like, oh, that was, maybe I didn't progress and learn a new trick, but like, God, that was awesome, you know, you leave like almost feeling just like fulfilled. It's like good for the soul. So
Yeah.
to me, that's part of it, is just getting out there with friends and doing it. And you know, like, I don't always get that. I have to ride kind of alone a lot of times, and it sucks, man. Like, you talk about when, you know, people have asked, like, does it feel like a job ever? And like, that's when it feels like work, because
Really?
I know I have to do it. I know I have to feel like I want to go out there and ride, but riding by yourself, it's, some people can do it. I don't
How
like
come
it.
that's kind of happened then? Is that just moving house or?
No, it's just like the time I have to ride. You know, like
Okay.
my time slot is like 10 o'clock in the morning to 12.
Right.
You know, when a lot of the guys are working or people can't get out there, and so it's just tough. You know, like, and that's part of it, is just like being motivated to go out there and do it alone and just going through the motions. And you know, like, I have this where is it, on this side? I have this little band on my arm with like all my information on there and stuff like that, where I know it's dangerous and I'm going to go out there and ride by myself. So,
Right.
you know, if someone walks and finds me at the bottom of a bowl, they can call somebody, you know, but it's just, that's the reality I live in, is like, you know, it's not always like these huge major banger sessions. It's like, sometimes I'm just out there riding on my own because this is essentially my job. I have to keep up with it, but it's just not ideal. But so, you know, on that side of it, I look forward to, you know, riding with people and hanging out and, you know, having fun. So yeah,
Cool.
it's that's kind of how I stay motivated.
Yeah. Nice, dude. Nice. All right. Next one at Baybut. If you could do one sorry, let me start again. If you could do one brackets BMX trick for the rest of your life, what would it be?
So just one trick for the rest of my life?
Yeah, on repeat.
Oh man. Yeah, that's a tough one. Can I give 3?
Why not?
Possible?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make the rules.
I'm not gonna say no.
Yeah. So like, one of my favorite tricks ever is just, it's a 360. I take my hand off and I just dip the front end down. That one forever, for years, it's always been like the best feeling. Spines, box jump, whatever, it just feels great. Okay. The other one would be like suicide no-handed 360. I don't know, that one just always feels good. There's an excitement of, you know, hitting the front brakes in the air and letting go, and just, you know, you're like 99% sure that that the bars are going to stay and they're going to be there. And then there's that 1% that always time is going to be like, well, is it actually going to work? Same feeling with just straight double bar spins. It's a commitment, you know, so like letting go of the bars and waiting for them to spin 2 times around. It's scary, but it's exciting, and that feeling never goes away,
right.
Ever. Like, you know, you can become more casual with them, but like that feeling of just that commitment of a double bar spin, it's always going to be scary. There's never going to be a time where I'm like, yeah, no big deal, because, you know, like the consequences of landing with no hands on the bars, it sucks, man. So, you know, it's just one of those things where, you know, those 3 I'd probably go with. You know, okay. It's just, I could probably do those forever on repeat.
Nice. Good answers, man. All right, next one. There's a few here, so if you want, we'll just do these like quick. Just do like a quick fire just to get through these ones. So, came in from Ricky Turner on Facebook. Is it true you offered to fight Keith Terra and he pussied out? If so, did you ever meet?
Yeah, that goes back. So that goes back. I mean, I'll try to make this quick, but that goes back to, there was. I went to his trails. I was not invited, but I went there, and it was kind of not, that was frowned upon to do that back in the day. But I went there to film for a horror video, and he wrote a letter into the magazine and talking so much shit, and then this guy John Paul Rogers from at the time he worked for Schwinn, but he tried to set up a boxing match at one of the jumping contests. Like, he was legit going to rent a ring, make it like a side. And he asked me. And I was like, I've never been like a fighter, or it doesn't ever make sense to fight to me. But I was like, you know, like I'm not going to say no. Like if this guy wants to fight me, I'll fight him. And if it's going to be in a boxing match, like maybe it'd be like, a little bit more fun and maybe it could just squash the whole thing. So maybe there's a means to the end.
Yeah.
So I said, hey, like, listen, I'm not going to say no. If he says yes, I'll do it. And so then, it never happened. Long story short, it never happened. I was going to do it if he said yes, and I was, hopefully going to go in there and get a couple good shots in. But no, it never happened, and it just kind of eventually fizzled away. But the odd thing was that was kind of like the beginning of like kind of public shit talking in BMX.
Really?
And it was like this time, first time like a letter got written in like that, where it was like literally just talking shit, and someone published it, and from that point on, it really became more commonplace. Which I'm not proud of that fact by any means. I wish it was more positivity in sport, but it was definitely one of the first times that happened. So, yeah, true story.
Good question too, by the sounds of it. What was the last trick you learned?
Last trick I learned. Oh man. That's a good question. God, man, I don't know. It's been a little while since I've like really concentrated on learning a trick. Maybe it's not so recently, but I learned 360 bar spin to suicide. So I had to like basically go up 360, hit the front brake, spin the bars, catch them, and then let go.
Right.
Whereas opposed like to doing like a 3 suicide to bar. And that was just fun because it was just like, I wonder if you could do that, and it worked. So, but there's probably been other ones since then, but that's fairly recent.
Out.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. Have you ever tried girls' jeans on?
No, I haven't actually.
Okay.
I have too big of a butt and too big of thighs. It just doesn't work for me. The whole tight pants thing.
It's not your vibe.
I tried tight. Men's jeans, and it was just uncomfortable. So I gotta wear like a little bit looser pants.
Funny. Okay. All right, next one. If you had to buy a bike, hypothetically, and Harrow weren't around, what bike brand would you go for?
Oh, geez, I don't know. That's a tough one.
It is.
I've been on Harrow for 20 plus years, man.
Dude. What's the secret to that? Just out of interest, like how have you managed to just keep such a strong relationship with these sponsors? Because you've been on like most of them for multiple years.
Yeah. Short answer: you do your job.
Yeah.
You do your job, and you do it well, and you make sure you're a good representation for that company, and you have a good partnership, and you listen to each other, and you communicate. I mean, it's like a marriage. It's like having a girlfriend. It's anything like that. It's the same sort of thing. You respect each other, and you do what each other wants, and that's kind of how it works, So they make me happy, I make them happy, and it's a good partnership, man, which is it. But oh God. I'd probably go with an FBM. I like Steve Crandall a lot, and he's been a good dude through the years, and always treated me well. So I'd probably return the favor.
Sweet. Next one. This is funny actually. What's the worst product sponsorship offer you've ever received?
Oh my God. At one point I had someone ask me if I wanted to wear one of those mohawks on my helmet. They were like kind of like the stick-on ones. And it was at X Games. It was It was a one-time thing.
Yeah.
And it was decent money, and I was just like, I can't do it, man. I can't do that. So that was probably the worst one. There's been some wild ones over the years, but yeah, that was probably the one where I was just like, sorry, man, I can't do it.
Wow. I think slightly going back a little bit, like I listened to an interview you did with the guys at Vital BMX actually about money, which was super interesting today, and how you've been super level-headed around it all, and you've helped advise other riders and stuff like that. So this is more just like, if anyone's not heard of that interview, like find it. It's pretty cool, and it's something that I wanted to bring up with you, but yeah, we've not got all day, obviously. So, yeah. But yeah, it's a cool interview, man. Really, really good views on it and stuff. So,
thanks.
Next one, last two more. Steve Artist, being an older rider that's still pushing the limits, how do you trade off the risk/reward of trying new tricks?
Yeah, that's a tough one, because I'd be lying if I say that it wasn't more prevalent in your head, the risk part. The older you get, you just kind of think of stuff a little bit more, whether that's being able to reflect or being wiser about the choices you make. I don't know, but it's definitely one of those things. Like I've always been pretty methodical about what I do on the bike, and I'm very calculated. I've never been like a guy that just hucks tricks and hopes for the best. That's never been my style. And so how do I weigh that out? I just, I weigh it out. I look at both sides. Like, is this worth it? Is this something I think I could pull? What are my chances? Am I getting to get close? Will I know how to crash? I mean, it's a lot of questions I ask myself because I don't want to get hurt. Nobody wants to get hurt, but like, there's obviously ways to do it safely, And so for me, that's kind of how I look at it, is like, like, what are my chances? Like, am I close? Can I visualize this in my head? Like, so I kind of go through all those and try to make the best decisions to, make sure I stay safe and stay on the bike, because that's the important part in the end, is just, staying safe.
Yeah. And the last one, dude, are there any tips you'd pass on to other aging riders that want to continue without having to adjust the riding style? Solid question, Steve Artis. Very good.
I wouldn't adjust anything to any kind of riding style. Like, to me, that seems like the opposite. Like if you're trying to progress, that's one thing, and you have these tricks that you really want to learn, that's totally different. Like, go for it and do the things that appeal to you.
Yeah.
But if you're an aging rider and you love riding BMX or mountain bike or anything like that, like, do it, man. Like I see people all the time that are like, dude, I just got back. I used to ride like 10 years ago and I just got a bike and I'm back out here, and I'm like, that's awesome. And there's always like a little bit of like self-consciousness, like they're self-conscious about what they're doing out there. Like, they should be doing better, but when you take a 10-year break, it's like, it's not going to be the same as it was 10 years ago. And I just be like, all I tell them is like, dude, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Like, just get that feeling of being stoked, of what brought you to a bike originally, like, just look for that feeling, and whatever gets you there, do that. And don't worry about what everybody else is doing, because it doesn't matter in the end. It's just like, when you're happy, that's the key. Just be happy and find what makes you happy. And honestly, like, I'll tell anybody this: if bikes don't make you happy, don't do it, man. Life's too short. If riding a scooter makes you happy, fucking ride a scooter, man. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, do what makes you happy, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to make your life good, And so it's just like, I don't know, like, I don't hate on anything. Like, I subscribe to scooters on Instagram, and I think it's awesome, and I enjoy seeing people that kill it on that. It's just, I don't know. I just really want people to find their passion and pursue it, because I feel like there's so many people in this world that don't do that. And to me, that's one of the keys to happiness, is just having something that you're passionate about. So, to answer your question, just keep going out there and having fun. If you leave with a smile, then that's good, But like, if you're getting older and you're worried about injuries, then tailor it back, and to go back to the other question, like, find those 3 tricks that you want to do on repeat and do those all day long because they feel good, or it should be 1 trick, I guess, but I did 3. But just find that thing that makes you smile and do it, and that's honestly what's going to keep you, I feel, young at heart, and to where it makes age just a number instead of like a way your body feels, and that to me, that's it, like, just do what feels good and do what makes you happy, and just keep going.
Awesome. What a perfect way to end, dude. Motivational, inspirational, boom.
There you go.
Gets people stoked. No doubt people will be strapping on helmets now as they listen to this, just like heading out for a ride.
There you go. Go on and ride your scooter, your bike, your skateboard, whatever it is.
Sweet. Dude, it's been an absolute honor to sit and have a chat with you for the best part of, an hour and a half or whatever it's been. So yeah, thank you. For anyone who doesn't follow you on social media, where can people like find out more about what you're up to, events you've got coming up, anything like that? What's going on?
Just, Instagram's a big one, at Ryan Nyquist, all one word. Same with Facebook. You can find me at facebook.com/Ryan Nyquist BMX, I think it is. Mm-hmm. I don't go on Twitter too much, but you can follow me on that. And then, other than that, I have a fan page, like I said, on Facebook. I use that a little bit, but Instagram's probably the one. So right. I'm not the guy that does a bunch of this, I don't know.
It's funny I do what I need to do. Follow you.
Yeah. I try to have fun with it, but just give me a follow and tune in, and I don't know. That's all I can really say. Check it out.
All right, man. It's been a pleasure again. Like, thanks so much.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll get a chance to catch up in person soon, go for a beer or whatever you want to do.
Sounds good.
All right, dude. Have a great rest of your day, and thanks again. Really appreciate it.
All right, no worries.
Peace
Later.
out, buddy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And there we have it, folks. Episode number 45 in the bag. Let's do some shout-outs here real quick. First up, at T Mimo. Wanted to give a shout-out to his mate, Rich Baybutt, and happy birthday. A little bit late from what I understand, but happy birthday anyway, Rich. At Ben Patrick 2511. He wanted a shout out because he listens while he walks to school, which is pretty damn cool. So shout out, Ben. I want to shout out at Ali Clarkson for the social media love recently. So appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. We got at Will Poco, who wanted a shout out for leaving a pretty funny iTunes review. And yes, I did read it and it was pretty damn good. So appreciate it for that. Most of all, massive shout out to you guys for your continued support. Thank you for listening. It's much appreciated. If you don't already, you can follow us on at the Hook It Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, the Hook It Podcast, and there's a closed Facebook group too. So make sure you come over and join that, because on there we release guests early. We have some banter, all sorts of cool stuff goes on the Facebook group. So please come over and join that. And that's pretty much it, dudes. It's a wrap. It's been a pleasure again having a great guest and getting motivated and stoked to ride. Have a great rest of your week. Thanks again. Peace out.